Hey everyone, this is Teal Time with Hope. I am the host, Hope Aguilar, and I welcome you to All Things Teal. And All Things Teal, that's spelled Teal, is all things ovarian cancer awareness. And not just the awareness, but what's going on in the world of ovarian cancer with regards to any possible new screenings, as well as any possible future uh, cures, even. And it's not going to be just me talking about my story and what's going on in my world, but also I will be inviting guests such as nurses, doctors, as well as those who have survived it, those who have loved ones who did not survive it, and those who have loved ones that didn't survive it, but are also doing amazing things in those individuals' loved ones' memory. It's fitting for me to start this first episode with the story of hope and why I'm even doing this. And to help me do that is my sister. She is my older sister, and she is right next to me. I'm lucky enough to have her in this studio today, July 21st, 2024, which happens to be our mother's birthday. Welcome, Norma.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for wanting to be my first guest, as well as wanting to kind of do a little interview about what I've went through in this journey, as well as the book that I wrote. And yes, it's a plug-in for Hope Through Cancer. It's a book that I wrote 10 years ago, which is basically like a memoir of what I went through the first battle of the journey of ovarian cancer. And I have had a total of three um, times that I've gone through this cancer, but the first one was back in 2011. And before I get more into my story, that's why I'll let my sister start doing the interview. And so, by the way, y'all, this is not a professional, serious podcast. This is going to be more of a casual um, podcast because I love humor and I love not being so formal. And there will be a cat that might actually meow from time to time, and that's my lovely girl Spunky. She's 11 years old, and she was a super fan of her mother me, and she might come in and out of the audio, so you have been warned. So without further ado, let's get to it, Norma, my lovely older sister.
Okay, well, thank you again for having me. So, as you all know, that she wrote this book called "Hope Through Cancer," and Hope, as I was listening to you today, talk to me about the book and your upcoming things that are going to start. I don't want to give away what's coming,
Yes, thank you.
but it's going to be good, and you're going to love it. For all of those that you do listen to her. But I want to ask you some questions that came to my mind today, and it's regarding the book that you already wrote. And it's, first of all, why did you name it Hope Through Cancer?
Well, it's actually a good question, and it's actually written in, I can't remember what page. Actually, I think it's in the, before I even write the book, I dedicated
Hmm.
to my mother, and I also wrote about giving credit to a lovely woman that I met while I was teaching in Saudi Arabia named Ruby,
Okay.
and she was an author herself, and I was really hung up on the title because I was like, okay, I've got this book. I feel really good about it. I feel like it's ready to be published, but I don't know the title. Like like I was playing with, Hope's story with ovarian cancer, Hope's story with cancer, Hope going through cancer. Like I gave her all these like possibilities of titles, and she just looked at me and she was like,
Uh,
what? Yeah,
what about
exactly. What about Hope
Hope
Through
Through
Cancer? And I
Cancer?
was like, holy cow. So simple. Yet I couldn't come up with it, and I definitely give credit to where credit is due. A wonderful woman that I met in Saudi Arabia named Ruby. She's an author. She is an American, and her books are about her faith in the religion of Islam. And I just thought it was so beautiful that this woman gave me such a simple title for a book, and it just was so fitting. And I went with it, and it stuck, and I'm so glad I did. So that's pretty much how it came to be.
Well, that's good. And it's so funny because we can sit there and think, okay, I really want this great name. And then you think of all these things, and then you let somebody listen to you, and then like, um, why not just hope through cancer? So that was why I asked you the
No,
question.
yeah, it's a great question, and it is so true. Sometimes the answer is just right in front of us,
Exactly.
and it takes somebody else to just maybe just kind of listen, and then they can come up with it. And I would never take credit for that because I do believe that she had such a great answer for me, um, and yeah, and of course everybody says, well, your name's fitting in just about everything,
Yeah,
so
that's true.
that's even better.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I capitalize, by the way. So when you guys go to my website, and I'll be giving some information there in the near future, um, you'll see that you can purchase that book, Hope Through Cancer. But when you do see it, it is capitalized, HOPE, because the emphasis is not on me, the person, but rather the word and how powerful it is.
It is. It's very powerful. And you and I both talked a lot about mom since today is one of the fitting days. So fitting for us to be doing this because, it's our mom's birthday. And in heaven, well, in heaven, we don't know how old she would be there. But here, she
Right.
would have been 74 today.
Right, and we just kind of say happy heavenly 74th
Yeah.
birthday, but um, that's just what we say.
Yeah.
How it is in heaven, we won't know until we get there. But
Exactly.
yeah.
But I think it's really great. So I want to continue on with the questions that I have for you because, as you know, of course, we were talking today, and as I'm still listening to you, in your dedication page, now, mind you, y'all, and I do apologize, and I told her that I will read the book all the way through, but I did go through some of it, at least as far as like the dedication and the introduction, and I really like what she's written so far. But my sister Hopi, you will find that she gives you a lot of details into her life. She's very transparent in describing the things. Sometimes it's to the point that you're like, "Wow, you remember all of that." But that's just the way she's been. She's always been that way. So that's just a little side note about her. But let's go back to you said this book was released in 2014, so it's 10 years ago, as you said, right?
Hmm.
Okay. And at that time, when you wrote it, or when you were wrote not released it, but when you wrote it, in the dedication page, you put that mom, of course, you thanked mom for it, you dedicated. But let's talk about some friends, some medical staff, some former students in Saudi, and of course all the women that you might have met or maybe you met. I'm not exactly sure, but give me some insight on all that. Tell me what was going on at that time.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, when you're writing a book, that I've noticed is like when you give a dedication, you give it to those that have inspired you and motivated you to want to not just maybe write the book, but just complete the book. And so for me, again, like the story of the woman that gave me the name of the book, I can't just keep that to myself. I give credit to where credit's due. And these amazing women that I've met in the journey through this journey of ovarian cancer, they're just so many, and I couldn't name all of them because there's so many that
Right.
have battled their own journeys,
Hmm.
that unfortunately now 10 years later, some of the ones like Janice and Pat that I sat with in 2013 when I met them at my first conference in Washington DC that I took my mother to, they're no longer with me. They're no
Hmm.
longer with us. They've already passed away due to ovarian cancer, but I will always remember them. And that book was written before they both passed away. And then there's the students that were always so encouraging and my biggest fans. And I'm just so grateful, as well as some of my colleagues. And yeah, there's just so many people that I'm grateful for who believed in me,
Hmm.
who still believe in me, those that are still with me in this journey. And I just wanted to dedicate that book to them. And of course, our mother,
Yeah.
was my biggest supporter. And you'll read that in the book, where she, was selfless in how she was there for me,
Yeah.
and selfless in how even though our mother lost her mother, which was our grandmother,
Hmm.
when she was, when our mother was just 20 years young, she lost her mother to breast cancer. And here she is all these years later, having to see one of her own children suffering through such a horrible disease.
Hmm.
And she just did what a mother does, and she stepped in there and she stayed strong, and she never cried in front of me ever. And
Yeah.
I write that in the book. She may have gone into the garage, she may have cried to other people, but she never let me see her cry. And why is that important? That's important because I was so close to her that if I would have saw her being sad and crying, it definitely would have affected me in a way where I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have made it if I would have saw that one person that is part of my strength being so sad.
Yeah.
And so it just was right to dedicate to her. And of course I do in the book dedicate everything to God. And I know that's
Oh,
probably
yeah.
one of your questions, but yeah.
Yes, it is. That was going to be my next question. And about God, like I said, I haven't read the whole thing, but, God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, they've been a part of your life throughout this. And I truly believe that that is the reason why you even continue to even go further with what you're doing now, right? It's from the
Oh,
beginning
yeah.
to now, because back then, I was at the time when you were going through all this, I was in my life, being married and raising my children. So I didn't get to experience some of those things that you were experiencing with mom. I did get to hear about them because mom would always share those things with me, but not to the depths that you have. Because like we said in the very beginning, you're very detailed, and you do give a lot of information. Like, you give more about your life, and of course, why not? You are that person, right?
Right.
You're the one that we're talking about. So who would know more about you other than you would be you and God, of course, and Jesus and everything. So I think it's a beautiful thing. It's kind of a way to share with people your faith in it, without it being something like, well, I don't want to hear that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I'm glad you said that because I'm not an overly religious person, and I've been very transparent about that. I tend to find myself being more spiritual with a deep connection with Christ, my Savior. And I do not find myself as being a religious person more than I do as a spiritual one who believes that there is just one God only, and his son is Jesus Christ. But with that said, I everything about me in in my battle, if you will, in my fight through this cancer has been with Christ at my side.
Hmm.
And I couldn't not write about that. It's the very essence of my existence. And the reason that I also got very detailed, because you do talk about that, is because it's a memoir. It's a detail of what is going on with this person, what it was for me going through such a serious illness, as a way to help educate other people, know like what is this about and how does it affect this person, because it affects us all differently. And also maybe even just to scare people and go, "Oh my gosh, I do not wanna go through that." And I'm glad she's sharing that, because if it takes scaring people, which I never originally wanted to do that, but if it takes scaring a person to realize, "Look, I need to get my body checked, and I need to be aware of what my body is going through," because I never wanna go through what Hope went through within her book, Hope Through Cancer. And
Yeah.
that's another reason why I wanted to be as detailed as I could be with it, and also talk so much throughout that book about my faith and never giving up, and how God has just been my everlasting strength.
That's so true. And he is. He has been a part of our lives. Mom did a great job in raising us at the latter parts of her life, with her relationship with God. So I think
Hmm.
that's really vitally important. And I'm so glad you shared that. And I look forward to reading it as I'm going through the
Yeah, yeah.
questions.
I know all of y'all might be going, wait a minute, I'm sorry. She's wrote that 10 years ago and her
It's
sister
just
hasn't
so.
even read it yet.
Yes.
Well, you
So,
know
well,
what?
this segment is not about me. It's
No, no,
actually
no.
about her. So,
And
but
you know, but I did want to say it's not about my sister, of course, but it is also a little bit for a second, y'all, about how relationships also, whether it's our siblings, our friends, whomever, they have ebbs and flows, and sometimes we're closer when we're children, and then sometimes with life happens, people get married, have children, move on, and relationships aren't as close as they were when we were kids.
yeah.
And for my sister and I, and my other sister, and even my brother, that's kind of been the situation where we weren't always as close. And we're through life and life's difficulties and the loss of not just our mother, but our stepfather too. we have started to kind of come back together and try to be more closer to one another's and to be in one another's lives. And so that's just life. That's just reality. There's probably not a family out there that hasn't had these ebbs and flows of siblings who aren't always as close, or maybe they're close at one point, but they're not as close at another point, and things of that nature. And that's okay. And so, yeah, she's had her life and I've had my life, and I can guarantee you none of my siblings have read my book in complete entirety, and that's okay because it's not about that. It's about now. And if she's going to read it now, that's what matters. And you're going to read it soon because you're going to go on my website and get a copy of my book.
That's
And
right.
and definitely you're going to have access to that because I will put it on the details of this episode. But let's continue, sis.
Yes, let's do. Let's do. Thank you for the little segue right
Little
there.
segue, yeah.
Just a little bit. All right. So you've answered a lot of my questions already. I was like looking. Was she looking at my notes? I'm not sure, but anyways,
I snuck into her.
she did. She's so funny. So, Hopi, I want you to take us through your life, because share with us about your life as suppose what it was like before it happened and what it's like today. If you can remember back before it happened, and you heard the news that I have cancer. What am I going to do? All that. Your daily routines and things that you were doing back then as opposed to what you're doing today. Take us through that, just kind of give us a little snippet of that in terms, because it may be in the book and I'm sure it probably is, but
It is, but
just to
no,
hear it
yeah.
from your voice.
Well, number
Exactly.
one, some of it is in the book. Some of it isn't because that was written 10 years ago. And I am another plug for a future book will be the sequel to Hope Through Cancer.
Good.
And that is to let the audience and the readers know where has my life gone from 2014 to today and what has gone on
Yeah.
in that time span. But going back to the first part is, and this is really important because this is where the awareness is.
Yeah.
So I was, it was 2011 and I was living my life, and I was doing well. There was even a part of me that thought I was in love with a former partner, and it's what got me back to America, which is a saving grace. Like if I wouldn't have come back from Saudi at the time that I came back,
Mm-hmm.
I had it. I mean, my doctor told me that I had probably had cancer for 6 months when I got diagnosed,
Right.
which means I would have had cancer. That cancer had begun while I was in Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
So even though that relationship I was in didn't last, it was a really godsend that I actually came back to America when I did, because I wouldn't have been able to get the quality care that I got here in Texas. And that's not to say that there's not good quality hospitals in Saudi. There's great quality hospitals in Saudi. Doctors go to America to get their training, and then they take it and they have it for anybody that's in Saudi. So I don't doubt that. But when it comes to ovarian cancer specifically, unfortunately, even in America, there are not trained specialists in the field of gynecological cancers.
Mm.
So coming home, most especially with this type of cancer, and being able to be treated for this cancer by a specialist was a miracle in itself.
Yeah.
And I feel, of course, that was, God orchestrated, as my stepdad used to say. But again, I was living my life, doing my life, blah 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 blah. Relationship ended, and then my little sister had an actual scare. There was a scare that she had. I think it was cervical cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually was on my way to China. I was going to go teach China as an English, to teach English as a second language in the country of China for
Wow.
Disney. Yeah,
Wow.
I already had the contract was written and everything. And I had to tell them, hey, I'm going to have to put a pause on this because my little sister may have cancer. And of course, I got to be here for my little sister. And I remember being really scared for my little sister. She's got two young ones and she's married and she's young herself. She's 10 years younger than me. And really just being concerned if this was going to happen. And
Right.
so they're like, of course, take care of, whatever you need, we'll be here. And then the scare went away, praise God. Our little sister ended up being told no, she didn't have cancer after 2 or 3 checkups or second, opinions and third opinions. And then I was going back to China, and so I moved with my mom and my stepdad, but my mother had already said, "Hey, your stomach's getting big," because she saw me, and who knows better than the mother, right?
Yeah, right.
And she knew me, and I'm very tall. I'm 5'11", and I had my height well. I had my weight well,
Mm-hmm.
and all that to say is my stomach was
Distended.
extending. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was getting bigger, and I just blew it off. And this is the problem, y'all. Ladies, oh, the lovely ladies out there, we have a tendency, even for people that don't have children and people that aren't married,
Yeah.
women have a tendency to take care of everybody but themselves.
Mm-hmm.
We put everybody first. We don't have time to be sick. We don't have time. I'm single. I have no kids. I'm not married. Yet I didn't take the time to say, you know what? I need to go to the doctor. I
Mm-hmm.
need to have a checkup. And I know people might be astounded by this, but I stopped having pap smears after I got out of the army, which was maybe 10 years before, and that was kind of silly of me. And I'm not saying that everybody should get a pap smear every 6 months, because it used to be every 6 months. Now it's not every 6 months, but we should have pap smears because getting pap smears can detect any kind of problems that are going down in the gynecological area. And I stopped. And that was foolish of me in a way. And that's one of the reasons that I advocate so much for knowing your body. So here are the symptoms. I got back August of 2011, and I'd already started having symptoms. One of the first symptoms I had was urgent need to urinate. I found myself drinking water, drinking tea, drinking whatever, and I didn't drink a lot. And next thing you know, I'm like, I need to go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I need to go to the bathroom? I'm only 40. And in my only 40 mind, I was like, well, maybe my bladder's getting smaller. I am getting older,
Right.
which is like silly because I'm only 40. But I made an excuse instead of thinking something's not right here.
Yeah.
So then I started having that, starting the urgent need to urinate. I started having hot flashes at night, and not everybody gets hot flashes at night, but I did. And then I started having small back pain. I didn't have a lot of back pain because I got out of the army on a back injury. So
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to like decipher, is this my back injury or is this something different?
Mm-hmm.
But the stomach started getting bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And then the diarrhea came. And I made excuses. Well, it's
Something
nothing.
you ate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the lack of appetite, the
Mm-hmm.
feeling full when I ate just a little bit. And here's also the problem that I write in the book is that I didn't know I did have these symptoms and I should have been talking to a doctor, because here's the deal. If you have these symptoms and they last for more than 14 days, that's 2 weeks, you need to talk to a doctor.
Yeah.
14 days.
Wow.
Whereas I went 6 months with these symptoms, starting
Wow.
6 months,
So you could have had a handle on it
a lot
a
earlier.
lot
I
earlier.
would have been diagnosed stage 1 probably
Okay.
if I would have listened to my body, listened to the signs, listened to the symptoms. But here's also the problem. How do you know what to talk about? How do you know how to address something if you don't even know what the signs are?
Right.
Which
Right.
is what nobody gave me a card. I don't know of any podcast back then. This was 10 years ago. No, sorry, the book was written 10 years ago. This was almost 13 years ago. Podcasting probably wasn't even really a thing. And so there were nobody at my school, high school, nobody at my college, nobody at my jobs. And I worked at a hospital during college, and I'd never heard of ovarian cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know what the symptoms are, how do you go get help? How do you know even to what to look out for?
Right.
Because nobody's going to be like, oh my God, I got cancer, because I have diarrhea,
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's not like the first thing you're going to think of
Mm-hmm.
is cancer. But knowledge is power. And I think if I would have had somebody that passed on a symptom card or shared their story with me, that's another reason why I share, because hashtag sharing is caring. And it's about sharing your story so others might gain knowledge from it. So if I would have had somebody share their story, maybe I would have. We cannot go back and change anything. We cannot go back and say this would have happened. But who's to say?
Right.
And so that's my hope, right? That by sharing my story and sharing the symptoms, knowledge is power. And when you know what to look out for, you have a power, a superpower to go and be your own advocate and to be your own doctor and talk to a doctor, really. Because you have to really know your body and know what's going on with your body.
Yeah.
And so back in 2011, for 6 months, I had these symptoms. and it got worse and worse and worse. And sis, I don't know if you remember, but by the time I went to the doctor, I looked 9 months pregnant.
Wow.
Mom said I looked 9 pregnant. No, let's say, y'all, I don't know about 9 months, maybe like 7 months. I don't know if I was that big, but I hide my weight well. And when they did surgery, yes, I'm going a little ahead of the story, but when I went into surgery, I had 8 liters of fluid in me, which is what caused me to look so big.
Wow.
8 liters of fluid. And so here I was, or there I was rather, with this fluid, with a belly that was extended, with diarrhea, with not being able to eat, not being able to hold drinks down, nothing. And I still, in my mind, nothing's wrong.
Mm.
Nothing's wrong with me. I'm fine. Shoot. I just need to take some colon cleanser and cleanse that body out. And I did. I went to Whole Foods, got a colon cleanser, thinking I could just flush out that bad out.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Right.
But that wasn't the case.
Mm.
And I would have died. I
Mm.
could have died.
Yeah.
And in some medical experience, opinions, I most likely should have died.
Right.
The nurses didn't think I was going to make it. They
Mhm.
didn't tell me, but they thought it was bad. They told me years later, "Oh, we didn't think you were going to make it," because I got there so late. And unfortunately, too many women get to the doctor late and
Sure.
they get diagnosed late stage. And by that time, it has already spread to other parts of their body.
Yeah.
And thankfully, by God's grace, it did not spread to any other parts of my body. It stayed in the cavity of where the ovaries were. So on December the 4th, I went to the hospital, and after 12 hours, I came out of that hospital with them telling me that you have massive tumors on both of your ovaries that give us belief that you have ovarian cancer. And I was shocked. I was shocked, but I tell you no lie, I stuck to my faith.
Mhm.
And I got on my knees in that bathroom, and that's in the first chapter, maybe. And I got on my knees and I said, God, I just want to be strength. I want to show strength that no matter what that doctor tells me, because it just doesn't feel like it's going to be anything good, that I can look them in the eyes and I could be strong.
Wow.
And I washed my face, got up off my knees, and sat on that bed. And when he came to tell me that that's what they thought it was, I wanted to cry, of course. It was a shock to be told that. But God showed up as he always does, and I was strong. And I'm pretty sure the doctor looked a little surprised, like she's handling it very well. But that was all God. And I talked to you earlier today at the restaurant celebrating mom that mom used to always say, "That's okay. It's going to be okay. God's
Mhm.
got this." And that's who I called on that hour drive home, thinking about what I was just told.
Yeah.
And our mother was like, "It's going to be okay. You're not going to die of this.
Right.
You will live, and God's with us, and God's with you." And she was absolutely right. And she still is to this day.
She sure
So,
is.
and
She
that's
sure
just,
is.
yeah, that's it. She was always so strong in her faith. And I'm so happy to have had her as strength as well through that beginning journey, especially. But yeah, I mean, I know that's kind of like a long walk with that story, but
Yeah.
it's important to make sure everybody listening knows that that definitely was my story.
Mhm.
And with talk time, Teal Time with Hope, I'm going to bring in guests that have had their own stories in their own journey, um, and what happened to them, because all of us get diagnosed differently.
Yeah.
And I have talked to so many amazing women in this journey, and it's amazing that they're still with us. Number one, and it's incredible to hear their stories of like, wow, the way they were diagnosed and how things were discovered. And I have yet to meet anybody that was like, yeah, I listened to the symptoms and I went in. And that's what we're trying to do now. We're
Right.
trying to get women to know what to look out for, what to know, what are the symptoms, what are the signs, and how to get help with the medical professionals out there to get seen earlier rather than later, so they have a chance of not just barely getting to live, but like getting stage one. And by the by, if you're young and you can still have children and you get diagnosed at an early stage, you can save one of your ovaries, if not both of your ovaries. whereas you
Exactly.
can still have children, and where you might not even have to go through chemo,
Right.
because my story is not that. I was diagnosed at the age of 40. So any opportunities for me to have any children were no longer available because they had to take all my reproductive organs out. There was no ands, ifs, or buts. It was that serious. It was that aggressive, and it had to be treated aggressively. But that doesn't have to be the case with anybody else.
Right.
And even if you're over the age of children, it's still something that I would not wish on anybody. And so that's why I'm so excited, and that's what motivated me. And I'm sure I don't want to jump ahead of my sister's questions, but
she
I've done it already. It's too late.
um yes, as you were saying all that, I'm looking at going, she just answered that and she answered that. So pretty much she answered all my questions except the very end one. Which of course we're going to talk about that in just a, she's going to, you'll get into where you can find all your information, your social media platforms and things like that. But as we're about to wrap this up, but Hopi, it's really encouraging to hear your story, through this book, but also just listening to you because, there are women out there that do need to hear your story and hear, okay, you know what, I still have an opportunity. Oh, I did go to the doctor. I did make it. And that's actually one of the symptoms. And, or yes, that has been going on. And, I was going to put it off, but you know what? I heard I need to go. Somebody was talking to me. And so it's going to, I believe that it's going to hit those women in such a way that they're going to go, wow, I am so glad, that she is sharing her life and that she did share it. And I got to hear, but not only just hear your podcast, but also read this book
Mhm.
so that, whoever this person may be on the other side that grabs this book, which by the way, it's coming for you. A little plug for my sis. But, they're going to be able to say, wow, I'm going to pass this on to somebody else. I really want them to know that, because it's so important. And two, I want to go back to something you said earlier too. Your biggest supporters and people that really motivated you weren't just, of course, us, any one of us, but in Saudi, God was using your students who were really encouraging you. I think, remember, you sent a picture or something out when they did like a poster and they did everything for you because
Oh,
they
there's
were
just
so,
so many things that they did. And they
yeah,
just, and I'm glad you said that again, because at the end of the day, cancer doesn't discriminate. It
mm-mm,
doesn't care about your religion. It
yeah,
doesn't care about your nationality. It doesn't care about your race. It doesn't care about anything. It is cancer. It is an insidious, horrific disease that does not discriminate. And when it comes to supporting people and encouraging people and motivating people, that's what it's about. That's what keeps you going. My students are Muslims. I'm a Christian, and they know that, and I know that about them. And it doesn't matter. There is no there's no thing that's important other than being there for the people you love and care about.
right,
And they saw somebody that they loved, and they saw somebody that conquered something, and I've never been shy about my faith in God.
yeah,
They see that, and they saw that, and they're like, we are going to help her, and we are going to be her biggest fans, because we see a person who has survived such a horrible disease and still is with us, and still keeps her faith in God, and
yeah,
still keeps her positivity and optimism. And we love that. And
yeah,
that's what they would tell me. They're like, because a lot of times, whether in Saudi or in America or wherever, cancer is seen as a death sentence.
yeah,
And even some
yes,
of my students in Saudi would say,
mhm,
that's something that they've observed, is that like people from other countries, once, when you get diagnosed with cancer, specifically one student said British and American people are like, okay, well, let's fight it. But sometimes they've seen within their own people at that time, back then, that they would say, well, they're just expecting them to die.
mhm,
And yet we still, don't get me wrong, we still have people in America that still see it like that, and all
right,
over the world, where they just see, oh, it's the big C. And my mom and I wrote that too in the book. And there's so many things that I wrote in the book that I share and will continue to share on this podcast. But my mother would say, it's not the big C, it's the small C. We got to stop seeing it as the big C.
that's
Because
good,
when you see it as the big C, you see it as something to fear, and to be
Mm-hmm.
scared of.
Right.
And it's not saying that cancer isn't scary. And it's not saying that fear is going to be sometimes there, because we're only human and this is life. And life can be scary and life can be full of things that make us fearful. But when we see it as something small versus something big, and with our combination, of course, with our faith in God, there's nothing that we can't get through.
Yeah.
And to have those students and colleagues in Saudi Arabia just be like just amazing fans, if you will, and supporters, and just love me so much that they got a cake for me, that they put an article in the newspaper for me.
That's
And even though
awesome.
I cannot read it because it's all in Arabic, it's something that I have on my refrigerator to this day.
Yeah.
And that is on my Instagram, which is, author Hope Aguilar, which I'll put another plug in there with the details on where to get my social media stuff. And they put a big poster with my face and, and hope through cancer. And
I
they
know. I
made a
got the
plaque.
picture.
Oh
It's
my
really
gosh.
nice.
It
Yeah.
is phenomenal to have been loved so much like that. And
Yeah.
for them to still want and wish me the best, considering now I've had cancer 3 times.
Right.
And that's probably something that maybe you forgot to ask me.
Yes.
And I forgot to,
Well,
well,
we
kind
were
of
going to
say.
keep going.
But yeah, to follow on to that, Hope Through
Yes.
Cancer is just the story, the first story
Yeah.
of this journey that I've been on for almost 13 years. December makes 13 years. But it is by no means the last story.
No.
It is just one chapter in my life book. I am working on a book about my life, my time in Saudi Arabia. I'm working on the sequel to Hope Through Cancer because I have had cancer 3 times. So it came in 2011, as I said. And then it came back almost 7 years after being in remission in 2019. And then it came back shortly after finishing, like I think I was a year and 3 months
Mm-hmm.
finished after the second one. The third one came with a vengeance. And then I finished chemo. I did 6 rounds of horrible chemo in 2021 because I did 6 rounds of chemo in 2019, but it was a very short amount of chemo compared to 2011 and 2021. And trust me, y'all, there is no quiz at the end of this podcast. I may be a teacher, but I will not quiz anybody, so don't worry about remembering those dates just yet. But 2021 was the end of that third chapter of this journey, which we're all praying and believing that it's the final one of that
Yes.
chapter, meaning that no cancer will come back.
Right.
But I did finish in 2021 of June, and so happy to report that I am 3 years in remission and no evidence of disease. Praise God. And that, my friends, is it okay to call y'all friends since we just met? I think it is. What do you think,
I think
sis?
so.
My cat gives her a vote for you. Meow. But yes, it was part of the real reason of wanting to start this podcast. I have wanted to give back so much. I wrote the book. I also drive for Uber, and I'm a disabled vet as well, but I drive for Uber. And one of the beautiful things about driving for Uber is all the beautiful people that I get to meet. And don't get me wrong, there's some knuckleheads out there that I've had issues with, and that may be a book that I write too in the future. Um, but for the most part, I meet amazing people. In meeting those amazing people, they share their stories, I share my story. And so that's another way that I give back. So writing the book, having symptom cards that I pass out, um, advocating, going to Washington, D.C., even asking for money for ovarian cancer research,
Mm-hmm.
going to Saudi Arabia and turning a college that I taught at the color teal and raising money, fundraising, and things of that nature. There are things that I have done, and people say, "You've done already so much," but I never feel like I've done enough.
Right.
There is a movie called Saving Private Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an amazing movie. And in the end of that movie, Tom Hanks, and this shouldn't be a spoiler alert because it was, this movie came out 25 years ago.
Right.
But in the movie, Tom Hanks is dying, and a young Matt Damon, they went to save. They went to save, hence the reason it's called Saving Private Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at Matt Damon and he says, "Earn this,
Mm-hmm.
earn it." And I can't help but feel like I know that there is no way that we could ever earn
Right.
this to get to live here longer and longer and to have a good life. And all of us are full of flaws. All of us sin. All of us are imperfect. While at the same time, I feel like to still be here in this journey almost 13 years later, going through it 3 times, when so many women don't even get to make it to 6 months.
Right.
So many women don't get to make it to 1 year.
Yep.
So many women get to 5 years and then next thing you know, they're gone.
Right.
Yet I have continued to live and thrive and be a warrior for this advocacy for ovarian cancer awareness. And so I want to do even more. And I thought, why not a podcast of all things ovarian cancer, all things Teal, and not just be my story, not just be me talking about me.
Right.
Sharing my story in this first episode with my lovely sister is just that. It's my story, the first episode as an introduction to Teal Time with Hope. But that's just the introduction, and that's just my story, because there are so many stories out there.
Right.
And there are stories of, unfortunately, of women who have lost their mothers, and of mothers who have lost their daughters,
Mhm.
and husbands who have lost their wives,
Right.
and so many women that have gone already,
Mhm.
unfortunately, to this disease. And I want their stories to be heard as well. And those that are doing amazing things for the organizations, raising money. There's a wonderful woman up in New York. Her name is Frida, and they have a wonderful organization in memory of their daughter. And the organization is called Hope for Heather.
Mm.
And their daughter was very young when she passed away, very young. And she lives on through them.
Wow.
And they just got a Jeep with Hope for Heather on it. And they're doing amazing things and raising a lot of money. And they go to DC, and she's an amazing woman, and she's going to be one of the guests already. She said, absolutely, I want to be one of their guests.
Wow.
So I want her to be heard, and I want all the others to be heard, and I want the doctors to be heard. What are they doing? Why do they want to work in gynecological cancers? And the nurses, one of the nurses that has been with me since 2011 is excited to be a guest. And she is still the nurse that I see when I go to UT Southwest out in Dallas. That's what it's about. It's not just about hope the person. It's about hope the word.
Yeah.
And it's about encouraging people to know that cancer isn't necessarily a death sentence,
Mhm.
and that there are people that are living despite cancer. And am I kidding myself to say that maybe this won't come back? Yeah, I'm not kidding myself. I know that there is a chance that it could come back. There is no guarantee in this life. God doesn't guarantee anything other than his love, and that we will one day see him, and that we are saved, by grace and all of that. And there is no guarantee that any of us are going to make it to tomorrow,
Mhm.
regardless of cancer or not. And so I am not acting as if I'm going to live for another 50 years. I do not know how long I have on this planet. But while I'm still here, I'm going to do the best I can to make a difference, not for hope, the person, but in hope that we can do more for ovarian cancer awareness. And why not start it, or be a part of it, rather, with a podcast?
Wow. That's so incredible, Hopi. And by the way, y'all, I'm the only one that can call her that. I had to hurry up and put that in there
Yes, y'all.
because she is Hope, but we have this thing, and I call her Hopi
So,
because
childhood nickname,
yeah,
for sure.
yes, and she's just always been my Hopi. But you mentioned the word, and as we're talking about this word, and we're about to end this, that word hope. I just keep hearing these three words put together, which is faith,
Mhm.
hope, and love. And in that's straight from the Bible.
Great.
But God used mom to give you the name Hope. And, so fitting with faith, hope, and love, that's been your life.
Hmm.
Faith, hope, because that's who you are, and then the love. So you've actually been surrounded with so much love, and even people who are not even of the same faith,
Mhm.
just coming along, believing and trusting that, you know what, she's going to get through it, and we're going to help her. And, we're just going to make sure we're going to do anything that we can to help her go on this journey of life so she can keep going. So I think that's really one of the biggest things that I see that these people will see. A lot of people, these people that you're going to interview and all of
Right.
that, they're going to be able to see that, with their lives, they'll be able to take that from you and apply it to their life if they don't have that. Or maybe you'll be able to take that from them,
Oh, yeah.
some of their strengths and things they had to endure, things they're doing currently. But I'm really excited. I'm so honored that you would, you said yes to this.
Yes, because she brought it up, and I thought, why not? I mean, it's a good idea, and you guys might hear my voice enough, and hopefully, it won't be always my voice too much, but other people's voices with their stories as well. But as the host of this and the creator of this podcast, of course, you'll hear my voice a lot. But to have the first episode be an interview-ish type
Yeah.
episode with my sister is pretty awesome, y'all. And one thing I did want to add, even if somebody buys this book, Hope Through Cancer, even if it's not specifically them going through it,
Yeah.
it could be somebody that they know who's going through it.
Exactly.
It could be somebody who lost a loved one to the
Exactly.
disease.
Hmm.
And it could be just somebody or anybody for that matter going through any difficulty in their
Absolutely.
life, because I talk so much about my faith and how God is so good and how God is going to get me through it despite the pain, despite the suffering that I had to endure, because cancer is a beast, and the surgery was a beast, and the repercussions of the surgery, and the repercussions of chemotherapy and what it does to the body. And I do get detailed in the book, but that is who I am. I'm very transparent, and I like to, as a writer, really kind of get the reader to really be in my world for however long it lasts with that
Mhm.
story.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope as well for the podcast, for you to not worry that this is only a 30-minute, or oh my gosh, it's almost an hour. When is she going to stop talking? It's not, yes, it's not a true crime podcast, y'all. And I know that's the maybe the disappointing humor side of it. But it is a true crime,
Yeah.
because cancer is a true crime, and it is a serial killer. And we know who the serial killer is, but we do not have the cure to that serial killer to make it no more. And that's what we're going to talk about, hopefully, as well, with the doctors and maybe even scientists to come in and give us some of their input on what we're doing with in the field of ovarian cancer and possible future cures. And
Well, I think that too, just to go into this, because I know you're wrapping things up. Well, even when they say that there is no cure for something, your life and the faith that you used to help you get through that actually has helped cure you in the sense, maybe you're not completely, 100%, but I think that you are definitely sharing with people that there's hope. And in that hope is your cure for getting through what you have to get through, because your life, Hopi, just even on the side, let's not talk even just about cancer, but let's just talk about you as my sister. You're younger than me, right? And I'm older than you. But the thing that I always hear about you is perseverance.
hmm,
And in that perseverance, people don't see that there is a reason to persevere, but you still do. You still manage every day to wake up, smile, laugh, talk to your cat, knowing the things that you are, living, the way that you have to live differently now, you have to do things differently. To me, I think that that's a big motivator for my life, because the only thing I could think of that I've gone through tragically, in the last, I don't know, since 2020, for myself is the divorce. And the
and our mom,
divorce, well,
of
yes, but I'm
course,
talking about, personally within me. But yeah, my mom, our
our
mother,
loss, yeah.
she was gone, and she's no longer here.
Shortly
And
after you got divorced.
right. And I didn't have her to cry to or talk to or any of that. But you, on the other hand, you persevered through that. You had mom there. You had a lot of these people that just were like surrounding you. And it's just like a circle. I mean, it is truly like that song, Circle of Life. You
Yeah.
had, right? You had all these people just hand in hand with you, walking with you and saying, "You know what, Hopi, we're gonna see that we're gonna see this through you," like, and that's what you're doing. You are really going to help a lot of people. If you haven't already, you're gonna start it now.
Right. And I mean, I think that's it. And I appreciate that, sis. I really do. And I think that's the hope. And I can't help but go back to my name, which is funny, no pun intended. It is the hope, and that even if you touch one life, it's worth all that you've gone through.
Yeah.
If just one woman can heed all that I've gone through and go, you know what, I don't want to be sitting in that chair going, what is ovarian cancer?
Mm-hmm.
And being told that it is late stage, and being told that you can't have children, and being told that the chances of your survival is very small.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that for any woman, and that's why we share, and that is my hope. And and it doesn't have to be going back. It doesn't have to be just going through cancer. It could be going through anything. I have all kinds of things going on with my body, not just from cancer treatment, not just from cancer, but just other things because I was in the military, and that's for another story for another day,
Yes,
of course.
exactly.
But all that to say is, I have aches and I have pains that have nothing to do with cancer and the chemo. It's just part of life because of the wear and tear on my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know any other way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any other way but to get up. Does that mean I have a perfect sunny, rainy, no rainy days and a bowl of cherry life? No. Life is still got its difficulties. Life still has uh, things in it that aren't always grand, but I still get up and I still smile and I still have so much to be grateful for. And before I let y'all go for now,
Mm-hmm.
I want to also say that it can always be worse.
Yeah.
And that's what I look at. That's my perspective. That's my outlook. Because even though people might go, well, how worse does it get? You had cancer 3 times and you went through cancer treatment 24 times and had 2 major surgeries, and the opportunity to have kids was taken at the age of 40. How bad, how much more bad can it get? Oh, it can get way worse. Not that it could just get way worse for me, but there is somebody out there who has it way worse.
Yeah.
There are children in hospitals who are
Right.
suffering through
Mm-hmm.
cancer themselves. There are little ones that are have nothing to eat, have nowhere to sleep. There are so many things going on in this country and around the world where I see what I have is still something to be grateful for, because there's always somebody that's going to have it worse.
Right.
And that gives me perspective to go, you know what? Thank you for this day. And that's something that I kind of wake up to. I always say, God, thank you for this day. Thank you for your way.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like, thank you for being for I always kind of pray also, like I give God praise, and I just say, I'm healed, I'm whole, and I'm healthy. I'm healed, I'm whole, and I'm healthy. And I just kind of say it in there, and there's that psychology of also what you put your mind to will be
Yeah.
what you focus on.
Exactly.
And I don't focus on the negative.
That's good.
And I won't focus on the negative. And maybe it's because I had a seizure when I was a little, and when I was little, and my eyes rolled back, and I had a high temperature, and my mom told me that it was, I was an infant when that happened. And sometimes, y'all, I think, well, maybe the neurons and the neurotransmitters in my head always made it to where I don't stay angry, I don't stay mad, I don't stay focused on the negative.
Right.
There could be something there that they need to do research on my brain for, because I just see that life is still good,
Yes, you do.
and God is still good.
Yes.
And does that make me perfect? No. Does that mean I have bad days? Yeah. It doesn't mean, there is sadness. There are tangents of depression from time to time. You
Mm-hmm.
can't go through all of this and not feel some sadness and feel some depression, not even from the cancer, but just from the loss of our mother,
Yeah.
who was somebody so amazing to us. And just life. Life is life, and it's okay not to be okay. And I'm going to talk about that as well in a future episode. But for now, as we reach almost the 1 hour mark, thank you for being the audience to Teal Time with Hope, and I hope you come back for more and check in and see the good that we have got with coming together, because it's about coming together. The
Yes.
community that comes together, and the amazing things that our women are doing, not just in America, but abroad. And I hope to also bring in guests from other countries who have had this journey in their country, in their experiences, what's going on in their country with their experience. but it's coming together, talking about a needed subject and the awareness that we still need to this day, because you listening to this right now, yes, you may not know that ovarian cancer has an awareness month. Sis, what is the ovarian cancer awareness month? Crickets, crickets, crickets. Do you hear the crickets?
I think I do.
Hmm.
What is it?
Well, you said you think you do. What do you do?
Oh, well, see, this is why I have to read your book.
That's why everybody knows.
Everybody has to read the book. She's so right.
The month for ovarian cancer awareness is September.
Wow, and it's coming up.
It's coming up. But 9 out of 11, 9 out of 11, 9 out of 10 women that I asked that question to, sis, don't know the answer. This journey started almost 13 years ago. And 9 out of 10 women I asked that question to still do not know that that is the month for ovarian cancer awareness month. That is why I'm going to still keep advocating. That is why I'm going to still keep sharing my story. That is why I want women to come onto this show, and men as well, because men are been affected by this as well, because men have women they love that could have died from this, or do die, or have
did
died.
Die, yeah.
And so it's not just solely for women. That's why we keep talking about it. That's why we keep going forward with this awareness that we've got going on across this country and abroad. And that is what I hope to do in my small part with my advocacy and a fight for awareness, much more needed awareness.
Right.
And that's what I'll leave you guys for now. I'd like to thank my lovely older sister, Norma, for her time with me and being my first. I don't have the audience in the background, and my cat's not good at clapping yet.
Yes, she's
But in all seriousness, thank you for giving me a listen, and please come back for more. And I will put great information in the details of this episode, so please read the details as well. Until next time, this has been Teal Time with Hope. I am your host, Hope Aguilar, and God bless, be well, and until next time, bye.
Bye.